Alright guys, how's it going today? So, I guess it's about 6:30, maybe 6:45, something like that anyway, and we're getting some rain. We've been getting rain kind of on and off for the last few hours. So I guess Reese 6 did mail me some rain after all, because we're not getting what he got, but we're getting the next best thing, which is a little bit of dampness, but unfortunately I don't think it's going to be enough to, you know, really do anything. So, but they've been threatening rain for the last couple days, and they were talking rain yesterday around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and the day before that, I had went down into the bush. I went into that little 12-acre piece, and I was mowing, and I was pretty damn sure that when I went south through that field, there was no trees down. But then I started heading back. Then I noticed that there was 4 trees down. One big massive tree and then 2 dead trees that were slightly smaller, but we have 3 dead trees. It was a mess. Anyway, they were going to be in the way for cutting hay and whatever the hell else, right? So kind of just had to. I wasn't going to wait until about 8 o'clock in the evening to do it, because it was like 90 something out with hardly any freaking wind, and there's hardly any wind now. But I wanted to wait until 8 o'clock to do it, you know, because that way the sun would be, you know, below the tree line. So then you probably wouldn't bake up, so you wouldn't get so damn hot right away. But then they started threatening rain, storms, at 4 o'clock. I was like, well, you know, they were showing on the radar that it was supposed to start growing on top of us, like literally form on top of us. And it got cloudy at 4 o'clock, but it never rained, it never thundered, it never lightning, it never did shit. So it didn't do anything all of that night. Yeah, it was cloudy out, which was what it helped for heat-wise, you know, but it kept it a little bit cooler. But so here we pushed hard for no reason, because because we were supposed to get stuff at 4 o'clock and we never did, which kind of pissed me off, because it could have waited until 8 o'clock at night and then could have went and hauled those trees. And of course my tractor doesn't have air conditioning, and I'm not going to take the stinking doors off just for an hour's worth of work. So I just opened the windows and had the fan on, you know, just to get some air, at least trying to move through the cab. But I mean, obviously it's warm air too, but what are you going to do? One of these days I'll get that air conditioner going, but it's just going to be whenever things are not hectic and I have to buy a new compressor and stuff for that. Supposedly you can reuse the old ones. I don't think I would dick around with it. I'd probably just get a whole new one. Then you don't have to worry about it. Oh, there was some lightning right there. Saw that one. So it's starting to thunder again. There's another storm kind of starting to grow on top of us again. Yeah. That's what it's been kind of doing. Well, earlier though, it was a lot worse. It was kind of weird because the storms were growing on radar, I don't know, the radar is all kinds of whacked up. It was showing that they were gonna grow on top of us. But then when that time comes, then the storms seem to start growing over there to the northeast. And then they just kind of travel all along, and then they grow. So this little bit of rain that we're getting right now is actually probably the best rain we've had today. All the other rains we've gotten definitely were not going to do anything for us. This little bit of rain will actually do something. So, but another thunder. But yeah, it's been. I was getting kind of frustrated because yesterday, when we hauled those trees or whatever, it was just, they've been threatening storms, and then when 4 o'clock happened, okay, well, then they said, nope, it's going to happen at like 6 o'clock or whatever, so they pushed it a couple hours later. 6 o'clock came, nothing ever happened. They just kept pushing it back all the time. And I got a spider falling down here on Big Red. No wonder why I find spiders on Big Red all the freaking time. So damn annoying. But guess I should put try to find some spider traps or something. I don't know here. Get rid of these stupid things once and for all. But yeah, I don't know. So, but then they pushed it back from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. So they just kept pushing it back. When that time would come, then they would basically cancel it, and then they'd push it further later into the night or the day or whatever. So at this point, they were just kind of guessing at what the weather could do, which that irritates me because, you know, you really can't plan. You really can't plan nothing because you always have to try to work with the damn weather. Like, well, the weather's unpredictable around here, except in the wintertime. It seems like when they talk about winter, you know, that hey, there's going to be a big snowstorm coming, or even just a little bit of snow, they're actually accurate with that. But when it comes to severe weather, well, then they know nothing about it. So it's getting to be kind of irritating. So, but I don't know. So we pushed hard to get rid of that tree yesterday, or those trees. So hopefully that little bit of hay that we ran over will bounce back from us running it over. But I think that tree must have fell while I was out mowing. When I was out mowing the what I call the campground, but it's not really the campground. It's just whatever. It would be a good camping spot, really, but that's kind of to the southwest of our property. You guys have seen it plenty of times, but yeah. And then the trail, or the junk pile, I mowed a little bit in there. I don't think I'm going to really be, I don't even know if I'll be cutting much hay this year. I might cut a little bit, really depending on what the young guy doesn't cut for hay. But what was in the junk pile for right now wasn't enough to justify putting that big bar on and cutting all that grass. The grass was nice and tall. It was worth cutting, but it just, most of it was underwater. By the time that actually dried out, it'd already be August. That's because I went through that last year too. It was flooded until about August. So, but what are you gonna do? So, got a bug hanging on my phone. Get out of here, stupid bugs. So, but yeah, like I was saying about that tree, I had went south in that field, and then I suppose it took me probably not even 20 minutes to mow that. And then I started heading back. Sure enough, then that tree was down. So I was like, well, it must have just happened within the amount of time that I was mowing. Obviously, I wasn't going to hear it crash because, you know, the tractor, or, you know, the mower is so loud. So, not sure what brought it down, unless it's just because the ground's so damn soggy. But to me, it looked like it broke off. down at the, like, not quite ground level, but close enough. So I'm not really sure what the hell happened there. I never really did look at it. I just cut it up and got rid of it. So, but just from glancing at it, it looked like that's where it broke off down at the bottom. So, but the tree was still alive. Like the green, well, if it had just happened, the tree would have still been, I guess, alive. But I figured, well, maybe the tree's been down for a while. But like I said, I didn't notice it when I first went down there with the mower. And the leaves were all still green, just like these are, you know. So obviously the tree wasn't down for very long, but whatever. We got rid of it, cleaned it up, got rid of it, so it's good to go now. But there's still a little bit of minor cleanup I got to do. But now since we got rain, probably won't happen. But I guess whatever. I'm not going to complain too much because we kind of need the rain anyway. So, but yeah, so you guys noticed the video on the farmall working up the trail. That was its like first time touching that trail for this year. Usually I like to go over it with the big John Deere cultivator because that actually buries the weeds and stuff. But I figured I'd try this because I really had nothing to lose by just, you know, trying it to see what the hell would happen. It does okay. I'm not impressed with it, but you know what? That spring-tooth harrow is not really meant to be a cultivator. It's really more or less to break up big chunks and to help kind of smooth out whatever you're turning. So it's not really a cultivator. It's not really designed to bury trash. It buried all the really small stuff, but the stuff that was like a foot tall, it just pushed them over. But they'll bounce back. They're probably already back up now. So, so I think the plans are I'm just gonna go over it with the big John Deere cultivator, and then I'll hook up the Trail Smoother 5000. We'll hook that up to the little tractor. I would pull it with Big Red. Big Red has no problem pulling it, but the problem with that is that I have limited battery life. So, you know, kind of limit that now. So, but for the farmall working the ground, it was going okay for a while, but then I started running into a problem. Well, the first time that it happened, that was my fault. I put the tractor in the second gear because that's what I was running the tractor, and that's the gear I was in when I was cultivating or harrowing, whatever you want to call it. But the problem with that is that when you have it in second gear, you got a load behind you, and then you got the weight of the tractor, and then whatever resistance there is or whatever to the spring tooth harrow being into the ground, you know, there's going to be some resistance there, some extra weight that the tractor has to try to overcome. Well, I didn't give it enough throttle, so I stalled it out. Figured, okay, well, it happens all the time. Even with the big 1586, I've stalled it out. Even yesterday when I was hauling a tree, I almost stalled it out. But luckily I was able to save it just by clutching in. With the little tractor, I didn't clutch in fast enough, and then it stalled out. So, but then when it stalled out, I couldn't get it to refire. It would just crank and crank and crank. So I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. At first I thought maybe it was overheating. But then I started thinking, well, if it's overheating, that really shouldn't cause power loss. Not to this way, but if anything, antifreeze should be boiling over if it was overheating. And I don't have a water temperature gauge because I think it's busted. I think there is supposed to be one on those tractors, but that one is supposedly busted. I don't know. I gotta put one in, but whatever. That tractor needs thousands of dollars worth of work anyway, just like the grain truck. So a little bit here and there. So, but yeah, so it wouldn't crank. I figured, well, maybe if I let it sit for half an hour, whatever, you know, maybe it would cool down, whatever. I didn't know. At the time, I didn't know because I was trying to figure out, I was just trying to figure it out, but figured, okay, I'll let it cool off. I figured, well, 30 minutes isn't going to really cool off much, but maybe it would be enough to get it to refire. So I tried that, no good. Waited another half an hour. Okay, the tractor finally fired back up, but it was blowing a lot of white smoke and black smoke. It was kind of a mixture between the two. I figured, well, if it's blowing black smoke and white smoke, that's got to be... It's obviously engine related, you know, like it's trying to diagnose it, you know, trying to figure out what it actually could be. And I was thinking, well, could be the carburetor. Maybe there's something wrong with it. So after it finally fired up, it was running like shit. It was acting like it was maybe lacking fuel or air, or maybe it was even being flooded, because it was, even though I had pinned the throttle wide open to try to see if I could snap it out of this little funk that I was going through, the tractor, the RPMs were slowly increasing, but it was blowing a lot of white smoke out too. So I figured, well, it's getting better, but it still sounded like crap. So after I did that, well, then it started running okay for a while, so I went back to work. And then I made it about halfway down the trail. It started doing it again, but this time it wasn't my fault. The tractor shut down. It was starting to act like it was lacking fuel or maybe some air or something. I don't really know. Like, it was losing power. So then I was like, well, I don't know. But it just eventually shut down, and I was like, okay, well, here we go again. So then I started digging around with the carburetor. I drained the carburetor, because you got like a little drain plug that you can take out to drain the fuel out. So I did that, let it sit for a couple of minutes. I turned the fuel valve off so I wouldn't keep feeding it fuel. And then I let it sit for a few minutes, let it dry, or let it drip a little bit, you know, I'm trying to figure it out. Put it all back together, filled it back up with gas. And then it started firing. It started, like, you know, it wanted to start again, but it only caught on one cylinder, and then it stopped. But then the more I kept cranking on it, well, then another cylinder would catch, and it would just keep, you know, one cylinder after another. It would just slowly start catching again. Of course, still smoking. And then eventually it would run. Okay, so then I figured, okay, well, me being stubborn, I should have said fuck it and just went home with it. I went back to work with it again. Well, then it happened again. So this happened like 4 or 5 times. It was stalling out. And I didn't really want to keep cranking on it, because I figured I was going to wear the battery down, because God knows I'm not going to use the hand crank. So I kept trying. I drained the carburetor. Kind of helped. So, but I don't know. It seemed like when I was draining, 6 miles from here. Okay, whatever, phone. So it helped to drain the carburetor. But I mean, sometimes it helped a lot, and sometimes it didn't really do much. So figured, okay, well, it's got to be a carburetor issue. I talked to my uncle a little bit about it, and he says that it possibly could be the float, that maybe the float is not adjusted correctly. Therefore, it's causing the tractor to flood. Once it gets, like, you run it enough, then it starts to flood. Because when I worked the garden, mind you, I only worked it for like half an hour, whereas the trail probably took like, well, if it would have ran steady, could have been done within an hour. But since it kept stalling out all the time, it took me like 2-3 hours. And I'm still not done. I still have a little corner left that I need to knock out. But I think I'm just going to go hit it with the big cultivator, and then it'll be done. So I think that's what was causing the issue. I think that the carburetor is probably not adjusted correctly. Because you got to remember, we did take the carburetor apart. when it was time to actually officially start trying to start the tractor. We took the carburetor apart, we cleaned it, made sure it wasn't all gummy and whatever, and whatever else. So, but my uncle thinks it's probably that the float is probably not adjusted correctly to where it should be. I think what I'm going to do, because I think running, I mean, I'm just going to run it the way it is for now. I'm just going to put it on this Trail Smoother 5000, and that'll go a lot quicker, and it probably won't be quite as much work for the tractor. I mean, yeah, you got to work them. That's how you're gonna, that's just how you can blow out the cobwebs and see how these things are going to actually run. You got to use them. How you're never going to know if you got it properly adjusted. If you never plan on actually using the tractor, like you're just going to drive it around or something, well, then maybe it's all right. But we got the damn thing running to actually use it, not to sit in our yard and look pretty. So, but now since this was technically a second job now, working up the trail, that has proven to be a problem, because it runs fine for a while, but then, then it starts to kind of run. It runs rough, and then it eventually stalls out. So it's a carburetor issue, for sure, I think. So, but I think this fall, I'm just going to order a rebuild kit for that carburetor. And I'm also going to order a new manifold for it, because we need a new one, obviously. But I figured if we got to tear into it that far, because I mean the carburetor and the manifold are all bolted together, kind of. So you might as well just replace it all, and then just done. So then I don't have to worry about it for many years. But I don't know. The one thing that, of course, all this is going to come from Steiner's. It ain't going to really come from anybody else. But the way Steiner does it anyway is that the float for that style of carburetor is actually a separate order from the rebuild kit. They're not. It's not included with the rebuild kit, which I think is ridiculous, because I mean, yeah, floats can last many years. Eventually, they can get pinhole leaks in them, and that's how they fill it with gas, and then they don't run right, because your float's not even floating anymore. It's all the way at the bottom. So, but I'm just gonna replace it all. Just have it all replaced, and then my uncle can tune it to what he thinks it needs to be tuned at, and then, because we don't have a book on this, obviously, so we're just gonna have to do it by eye. And then I'll just go, I guess, put it to work on something, I guess, work the trail up again or something with it. And then if it starts to run a little funny, well, then it's probably not properly adjusted, and we'll have to tinker with it some more. But I think that's what I'm going to do. So, but that probably won't be until fall time, because I got too many other things I got to do, and I need to get it done. So, but gotta keep running it anyway, I guess, to the best that you can anyway for the rest of the year, because you gotta put some hours on them, because then it's never going to truly ever, it's never going to wake up, it's never going to run like a normal tractor should, because when they sit for so many years, they seem to kind of not run right for a while, and then they they just run like shit. So, but once you put them to work, get them nice boiling hot, well then, yeah. So, but yeah. So the other thing is when I was working the trail, this is kind of a problem, but I got a temporary fix for it for now. Obviously, I broke the valve off, and now apparently in Greasy 6, I think you're the one that said something about that a few months ago. Supposedly there's a website that actually still sells those pressure valves. Apparently they call them pressure valves. But I call it a diverting valve, but it's the valve that you can divert your exhaust from the muffler to your air cylinder that you would use to raise and lower your attachments on those farmalls. I have the valve in my shop. Obviously I busted it, but I'm hanging on to it. I just hang on to it. But supposedly that one website that he gave me sells them. But there's no picture of them, which I don't, that's the one thing that pisses me off about any website, is how hard is it to take a freaking picture of something? You know, so, but I think they had two of them, or two different listings on that pressure valve, so I don't really know which one would be the right one. I guess they're both the same. I don't know, unless something's, one doesn't have something, but there's no price. I think you have to call in order to get a price. And I don't remember, I think Greasy 6 said something about the pricing, and I don't know if he said it was like 90 bucks or something. I don't know if that was including shipping or just the price of the damn valve, but I don't know. I would have to call, I guess, or something, but there's really no sense because I got to get the manifold, and the prices of the manifolds have skyrocketed. When I looked last year, they were like 130 something. Now I think they're like 170. So it's gone up a lot in price. So that, and then with the rebuild kit for the carburetors, and then a new float, yeah, you're talking a little over $200 and just literally 3 parts. That's all I'm ordering is 3 parts, and it's a little over $200. So it's going to be a lot of big money to spend on just 3 little stinking parts. But if you want to get your tractor running right, that's what you got to do. But anyways, like I said, we don't have the muffler on, and plus the original muffler that was on the tractor. No clue if it was the original one. I highly doubt it, because I imagine they rust out after 20 years. But that one was slightly bent, like it was bent back a little bit. So I'm guessing hitting tree branches probably bent it, but it never had a rain cap. They always threw a damn can over it, which, whatever, it works. But, well, obviously, you know why we're not running a muffler on it now. Because obviously, because I broke the stinking valve thing. So, so for now, I found, well, my uncle made up a pipe for the 400, because he didn't have a muffler either for a lot of years. He didn't have a muffler, but for the last year or so there, he just had putting this big pipe on, and that was, I guess, to divert the gas fumes and whatever, the exhaust, up and over. But when I was running the tractor down on the trail that other day, I was heading south, and there happened to be a south breeze. So you know what was going on when I was going down that trail. I was getting all the fumes and everything right to the face. I couldn't even breathe for probably a good 30 seconds, if not a little bit longer, because it just, obviously the tractor just keeps puking out exhaust if it's running. So I had a hard time breathing. I really had to try to, I guess, like, move my head the best that I could to even try to get a gasp of air. But then I remember my uncle had a pipe made up for his 400. Of course, he's not using it now because we do have a muffler on the 400 because we bought one a few years ago. So I'm going to put that pipe on the little farmall A. It'll look a little rednecked, but it's better to get the exhaust fumes up and over than to swallow them and can't breathe, and then your lungs explode. So it's going to be better, I think. But I haven't actually gotten to test it because obviously they've been threatening rain, and then we've been having to haul those trees and then whatever else. And then I want to go and work the trail with the big tractor first, and then I got to get my trail smoother 5000 going. That just needs to be pulled down there and put 2 or 3 gallons of water in it, and then hook it up to the tractor and go. So, but yeah, so we'll put the little farmall on that for the rest of the year. Obviously I won't get to work the trail now because of this. I was almost thinking that we could, because that little bit of rain that we did get way earlier, it just made like the blades of the grass wet. That was really about it. It didn't even get the dirt wet. So I was like, well, give it an hour. I probably could go back out. I could go out there and cultivate the trail with the big cultivator. But then they were threatening more storms, and sure as shit, you know, it happened. It was thunder and lightning and all kinds of shit, and now we got this nice little light shower going on. This shower's been lasting quite a while too. This is what, a 31 minute video. I would say this rain started, I suppose, 15 minutes before I even got out here. So you're talking almost an hour already. And it's just a nice light shower. But unfortunately, they would have to probably do this. I think it's going to do this for the remainder of the day, like until like 8 o'clock at night. But if you did that for the remainder of the day, which there isn't much left of this day anyway, but I think even if it did it all night, it probably would soak in the ground pretty good. And then things would perk up a little bit. My lawn is actually starting to die in certain places because I haven't had much for rain. So I know that Reese 6 got some rain a few days ago or whatever, but he got like 6 inches of rain, which is a lot. But we've had close to that previous years too. We've had crap like that. So I don't know if it was last year. I know I got a picture of it, but I think it's on Instagram. I'm not really sure, but thinking mosquitoes, get out of here. But I think within a 2-day period, was it 2 days? Had to have been. We got in 5.5 inches of rain in just like a 2-day period. So, because I remember my floater and my float gauge, for the rain gauge, I mean, that was pretty much maxed out. This is only a 6-inch rain gauge. It can only go up to 6 inches, and then after that, it's over. It's over the scale. So, but I don't know. It's kind of good that we get it now. It's not really all that. I don't know how to explain it, because it's good, but it's not. It's good because it'll help the hay grow, but it needs to shut off by July so we can cut hay and maybe not have to rake any hay this year. I'm hoping that I can get away with not having to do that this year, but I don't know. But then it's a bad thing because calving has started for my cow back on June 1st. And we're going to be keeping an eye on her until, I guess technically it would be August 1st. So June and July, you know, but, so, because she could calf anywhere in that time frame. We don't really have an exact date. So I try to do it to where it just makes more sense. It's more easier to remember. So June 1st to the end of July is when she should calf, my cow, and then my uncle's cow should follow a month after July, because his cows are bred later than mine because of how the bull got brought here so late in the year. That so last year or the year before, I guess it happened, whatever. So calving day's kind of screwed up again, but I don't know. For my cow, it's on time, but that's because she got bred by a different bull, and who knows what that bull is. So yeah. So we'll be watching for calves, or at least one for now. But if she'll do anything, I don't know, and when, I don't know. We'll just keep an eye out. Probably won't be able to do it today though, because it's raining, unless the rain stops. They said it's supposed to stop by 8 o'clock, so I probably could get out then, and at least go see what the cows are doing. But if my cow was calving, my uncle would have called me, but I like to get out at least once a day anyway, and go for a little joyride if I can, and see what the cows are up to, and yeah, just get out of the house at least for half an hour or something, you know. So, but yeah, she's raining pretty good though. But this is what I like. This is what I call a nice gentle shower. You know, and it's not flash flooding. It's not just all of a sudden, you know, filling up ditches and stuff like it. The ground has time to drink this up. Now, if I did this for like 3 days in a row, that could probably become an issue, but I don't know. So, but yeah. So yeah, anyways, guys, I guess I'll take off. Just want to give you guys a little update on that for the little tractor. And so towards the end there, it was getting to be challenging to even finish my video. So, but I managed to finish it just enough. It's not 100% perfect. There were some other clips I wanted to throw in there, but my style of mount wouldn't work for that. And the tractor was giving me trouble, and I was getting frustrated at it, so I just wanted to quit. So what you've seen is what you get. So that's what you got anyway. But whatever, it's good enough. There's always going to be more videos later on, you know, throughout the year, and then even next year. So, but what are you going to do? So yeah, anyways, guys, I guess I'm going to take off. So I guess have a good day and stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take her easy.